Yep.
Okay, there we go. That apparently has it fixed. My God, what a day. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Southern Tech Elf Podcasts. It's Thursday. May the... What is this? The 4th, 5th? Something in there.
The 4th.
It's the 4th. Mark Hamill somewhere is tweeting 7,000 things between now and the end of the month. Starting today, may the 4th be with you. Holy crap. Another Take It Off the podcast. Glad you could join us today. We've got another great show lined up for you as always. Now that I've got everything not exploding here in this household today, although I'll be honest, if I hear the timer going off in my oven upstairs for one more fucking second after it's been running now for 15 straight minutes, I might lose my fucking mind. But before we do that, before I lose my mind live on television, Mr. Black, how's your week?
Been a week. Same old same. Let me fix my mic. Yeah, I started with my personal trainer. I can barely walk today, which is great. Did leg day a couple days ago. Feeling the pain, feeling the burn. Had another session today. Yeah, I've just got so much shit on the go right now. I don't even know. I'm just gonna opt to say it's been another motherfucking week.
Fantastic. Same here. Except the world doesn't need to know why it's been another week, and so that's what you're gonna get out of my mouth this week. Not that it's been terrible, just been a fucking week, and today's been a fucking day. But, you know who else is having a bad week? Everyone's having a bad week this week, evidently, Mr. Black, and one Mr. Phil Spencer is getting absolutely fucking ass blasted all over social media, going from the king of the video game world about 18 months ago to literally this man can't wake up and roll out of bed without the entire world coming down on his head. In a very short order. We've already discussed in the last couple of weeks and over the last couple of months, of course, Xbox division's struggles with the CMA. The CMA, as of last week, of course, coming through and saying, no, fuck you. You're really just not going to do this. And Xbox saying, well, fuck me. I'm going to appeal it and we're going to do this and drag it out like an old married couple for the next 3 to 4 fucking years if you don't like it that way. And so they are. But in the midst of all that, we also knew that Xbox has now been like 2 years without a real true flagship front runner, console selling, even just critically acclaimed AAA experience since before the pandemic. They've literally been tits up, tits out for Harambe for 2+ years now. 2023 was supposed to be the year of Xbox. Finally, no more excuses about the pandemic bullshit, no more fucking backlog this, backlog that, oh, it's happening, you know, I'm feeling it in my fucking groins, Mr. Black, it's in my fucking testicles, it's coming, Xbox's year is 2023, and it's not! It's ass! It's shit! Game Pass isn't even that much of a value for a lot of people anymore because you still need what, Mr. Black, to push Game Pass?
Games.
You're fucking skippy! And they don't have any! They just don't! They had Hi-Fi Rush come out and everyone was like, oh shit, that's pretty dope, that's one! You can't run the entire platform on Hi-Fi Rush and Age of Empires. Alright, it's just not gonna happen. Those are not 2 games that carry you very fucking far. I'm sorry to say it. And ironically, in this interview that I'm about to talk about with Phil Spencer was mentioning that Age of Empires has more players currently than Hi-Fi Rush, but he said, but everyone praises Hi-Fi Rush, and that's just a good indicator of the industry, as we're going to discuss here in the midst of this. Because today, Mr. Phil Spencer, who I will give him this, love him or hate him, you either agree with how he's run it or you don't, this man does not hide from anything. The day that shit goes up, and it's a fire everywhere, he'll do a podcast in the middle of nowhere with 3 fucking people and have them just shit down his throat for an hour and just straight up tell you that he's failed miserably and not give a fuck. I will give it to him on that note. Jim Ryan is the opposite in that regard. When shit goes wrong, Jim Ryan ain't nowhere to be found. That man is hiding in an ivory fucking tower. You don't get to talk to him. I don't even remember the last time I've seen Jim Ryan do a fucking interview on a podcast. He might not have ever done an interview on the podcast. So here comes Phil Spencer on the Kind of Funny Games podcast. This just went down like literally within the last 8 hours or so. And listen, it's bad out there. And it's real bad when Phil Spencer can't be positive. They were asking him literally during this podcast, during this little interview, they were like, can we get some positive Phil out of here? And Phil said, no, actually. You can't get positive Phil today. I'm in a really bad mood. I'm having a really bad week. I'm not about it. I'm not happy with the team's performance. things aren't going well. So let's cover what's going on here. So what am I talking about? Redfall. Redfall is what I'm talking about. Anyone that's in the gaming sphere that is online in any way, shape, or form has probably heard that Redfall came out and, to the surprise of probably no one, sucked a massive penis. Just dog water. Fucking awful. We talked about this on the podcast when we watched it originally. The trailers came out and we were like, oh, this is like dollar store vampire Left 4 Dead. But in 2023, when nobody wants that at all. And so why is Microsoft, we were questioning, Mr. Black, you remember this, why is Microsoft putting so much advertising and pumping this game up alongside... Do you remember the game that this game is being paired up with for 2023 for Microsoft's like big releases? Starfield! A fucking generational release of a new IP from Bethesda. That is literally... Redfall was being pinned to Starfield. Are you high? Why would anyone ever do that? But that's what we were questioning. This looks mid as fuck. If everything went right, I think you and I said it's a 7 out of 10. And that's if everything went right. Guess what? Nothing went right. It all went wrong from top to bottom. Not only is it a performance, it's just terrible. So like from a just a mechanical perspective, it's just bad. But the game itself is uninspired, flatlined, nothing. Remember, I've said this before. Remember what I said about the 10-point scale in reviews, Mr. Black, where most games float from 7 to 10. Very few ever see the light of day below, or in this case, the darkness below 7. Like, no games ever fucking, like, rarely see, especially games like Redfall, where Microsoft has been filleting it publicly for 9 straight months. Super rare. Here's the marker for Redfall. They didn't allow anyone to do reviews before the embargo, or the embargo date was the release date of the game, which tells you that nobody was allowed to review it or post anything until after people had already bought the game, which is never a good sign, literally ever. And then you saw the results. This game is getting 4s from IGN. 4. Now you'll remember.
That means it's a 1 at best.
There are 3 numbers on the 10 scale that means something very important below a 7, Mr. Black. 2, 3, and 4. If somebody takes the time as a reviewer to actually analyze your game, and 1, not give it a 7 or higher, or 2, not just skip all the way down to 1, you've really fucked up. Because now they've actually taken the time to look at the scale that nobody ever uses. It's like the fucking Library of Alexandria. Somebody's gonna go in there and dig out the books on what the fuck a 4 out of 10 even is. And they pull the book off the shelf and blow the dust off it, and they open that bitch up and it goes, oh shit, yeah, you're right, this is a 4 out of 10. And so they put it up. And you know who else did it? GameSpot.
Rip.
Put a fucking 4 out of 10. This game is getting lambasted. It's a bad time. It's a bad game. And so Microsoft is now sitting in a position where the CMA is raw dogging them with a cactus on the big deal that is like the underpinning of their entire strategy for probably the next decade. It's not the only part, and Phil touched on that, but he did say it is what he described as the accelerant of their strategy, which is relatively important. I don't know if you've ever started to try to start a fire without an accelerant. Bit difficult. Not impossible, but how many of you have rubbed 2 sticks together and made a fucking fire? It's not easy. So they got the CMA up their fucking asshole. This comes out, and now what do they got in 2023? Starfield. That's it. That's the entire... all of the chips.
That game better be... That better be what motherfuckers are saying about Breath of the Wild 2 or whatever the fuck it's called.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Transcendent or
Tears of the Kingdom.
What are they calling that game?
Where they were like there's life before and life after.
And life after. Yeah, that needs to be Starfield at this point. There needs to be life before Starfield and life after Starfield, because there's Xbox Game Pass before Starfield. And then there's going to be Xbox Game Pass after Starfield. They better hope to the gods that the after is some next level shit.
Bro, it's not going to happen.
No.
It's just not going to happen. And here's the problem. Even if it does come out, and let's say it just starts crushing shit, tents fucking everywhere, you can't sell an entire console on one fucking game when everything else that's just come out is terrible. And you know what else? The odds of, if Starfield from Bethesda, again, we're going to underpin it, not published by, because Bethesda publishes and they develop, we got to remember this, okay? Published by Bethesda, or developed by Bethesda. When's the last time they released a game that wasn't catastrophically broken at release? Never fucking happened. Ever. And the discourse in the community right now in gaming is that every fucking game in the last like 6-9 months that has come out have all been hideously broken at launch. Some have been repaired, some of them have not. And they all cost 70 beautiful North American, America specifically, United States if you're pedantic, dollars. That's a lot of money to be asking for a game that's broken as shit when it comes out at launch. That you're gonna sit there and say, oh, well, it's so difficult to make games and we spent $1 billion to make this game and it came out and it runs worse than the one that 3 dudes in a basement who sold their entire fucking life's entire earnings and savings and their grandparents' home to be able to make this game, and we can't match that. They have to come up with something, but it's not going to be this year. Xbox right now, with the CMA, with Redfall, with Phil Spencer doing damage control out his fucking ass, and honestly, I just tweeted about this earlier, Mr. Black, I'm going to get your thoughts on this. If Starfield doesn't come out and just fucking... It does. It's not going to... We already agree that it's not going to suddenly turn the ship around. And Phil said this in the interview too, and I'll get to it. It's not going to turn the... But they need it anyway. It's the genesis point. There has to be a point in which the ship begins to turn. Starfield would be the point in which the captain went to the front and took the wheel and went, hard to fucking port! Do you think if it doesn't do that, Phil is out of a job? Or do they give him even more time?
Might be. I mean, he might just want to go. He might already want to go.
That's possible.
Might even just be like, bro.
That's possible.
You want to talk about steering the ship? I mean, when this game comes out, which, by the way, I'm still not convinced we're getting it this year. I'm still not convinced.
Oh, God, can you imagine?
Oh, bro, it'll be catastrophic. But hey, if the game comes out and they feel like, you know what, the shit ain't ready, it's broken as fuck, but boys, we need to push it out. We got to push it out and do damage control. I think they'd be far better off releasing a game for once in their goddamn life that is playable on day one, that it isn't broken as fuck, and have it be delayed, than come out with a game that might be pretty fucking good, but if it's broken, that's going to take all the headlines. That's all. Everybody is look, dude, everybody's going to be looking for the smallest fucking thing, bro. It is going to be, dude, they better make sure this game runs better than a fucking Kenyan. All right? This shit motherfucking better.
It's a power thirst reference?
Just a fucking power thirst reference. It better run. Because if it don't, oh man, it's going to be a bad time. So to answer your question, if this doesn't work out, Philly might actually just say, you know what? I'm resigning. I can't. If they don't fire his ass, I mean, one way or another, if he gets fired or not, it's going to look like he's resigning. You know, they're not going to be like, oh, yeah, I got fired. He's just going to be like, oh, you know, it's been a long, great career and just so thankful for everything that Microsoft has done. But it's time for me to move on and just enjoy the second half of my life and blah, blah, blah. The same shit that they all say. So we'll see. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Philly resigns regardless of how well this does. If this game comes out and it kicks ass and he actually takes the ship and he steers it to the point where it's starting to go into the right direction, he might say, my work here is done. I already know that we've turned the ship, but there's an iceberg not too far on the way back to land, and we're going to hit that bitch, and I ain't going to be here when we hit it. So I'm going to go on a high note. Deuces. He might actually say that shit. I'm not joking.
I could see that happening.
Yep.
Because he's now the analogy of steering the ship is more in the last couple of years. Phil has already steered this ship,
of course.
Hard fuck. He referenced this too. I'll go through some of my notes because I'm going to overlap myself a little bit. But like he does reference, you know, how damaging losing the last generation to Sony was. Not in terms of necessarily just the fact that the console sold poorly, and then how hard it was when he came in to take what Don Matrick left him, which was like a pile of steaming horse manure, and try to turn that into something that was even remotely viable, that Microsoft did not want to just come in and be like, you know what, guys, we're out of the fucking console market. That's a lot of work as is. But now he's got this whole other problem on his hands, where they're spending a ton of money buying a ton of fucking publishers and developers and everything in between, and they're struggling to get their feet underneath them as they are developing this cloud service and everything else. So it's a different ship to turn, but or same ship, but different turn. So I'll go through a little bit here just because I don't want to overlap too hard here, but again, I'm going to give credit to Phil Spencer because he just basically showed up and just gave it raw. Not very many CEOs will show up and do that shit. You're not seeing Bobby Kotick doing that shit.
Honestly, though, you probably shouldn't do that. You're the CEO. Like, I understand that.
Well, if not him, who? I guess. Because you can't have all this going tits up and not say something.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can appreciate it, but I mean, it's some risky shit when you're out there, you know, when you're out there and you're the guy that's running the show. And yeah, it's honorable to go out there and you know, go on the shield, but
it is risky.
It's risky because you can't spin it any other way. If you hire somebody else to be the spokesperson or the martyr, you can at least claim ignorance and go, whoa, he or she kind of talked it a line. They didn't actually mean it that way. When it's coming from the horse's mouth, the guy that calls the shots, the boss, and it ain't good, and the boss is saying, shit is looking real bad, I'm in a fucking horrible mood, I ain't trying to be, it's just not a good look. It's not a good look for your stockholders. It's not a good look for the ones that are buying your games. It's not a fucking good look. You're the man. You know,
it is risky.
Bro. It's hella risky.
And to your point, I'm going to get to some stuff that highlights the risk of doing this, because you have to be very careful of what you say and how you say it.
Yep.
Because it can, you know, be, I mean, we watch people misconstrue it to shit. We probably do it here, for God's sake. You know, it's just the nature of it. You have to be careful about what you say. So he did say some things that were in this interview that I found interesting. He mentioned, for one, as I mentioned just briefly before, that he doesn't believe that they are in the business of outselling Sony or Nintendo in terms of consoles. And when he was talking about this, it was in conjunction with that losing the last generation. There was a lot to, he spoke a lot of facts here. You know, the reality was losing last gen was tough, not just because they didn't sell a bunch of consoles, but because that was the generation where a lot of people built what he's referencing as their digital libraries. They're the games that carry across generations. Because you have to remember, like, you know, Jeff and I talking here and you guys listening at home, we represent like maybe 5% to 10% of the entire market in terms of how much we're plugged into what's going on, how much we think about these types of purchases, etc., how many games we even own, things of that nature. The market that console makers and stuff are chasing after is a market that's largely, you know, the type of people that he was referencing walking into a store or even going online and just looking at what's available and buying some shit. You know, we've talked about it here in the podcast before. Jeff mentions it many times about the whole concept with multiplayer games of what do your friends have, because that's the console you're going to buy. And so when you have an entire generation like that, that's a loss. That's bad enough as it is, but in that generation specifically, he said, you know, this is where people built their digital libraries, your Fortnites and your whatnot that carried over multiple generations, and so they're in an ecosystem now.
Yep.
And it's different than it was before. He said, "There's no, you know, he said some people want to believe that in this industry right now with consoles, that it's just like it used to be, where every new console generation was more or less a reset. You just press the reset button, and both sides start from zero, and then it's a console race for who sells more consoles. It's not how it works anymore. It just doesn't work that way." So he said but the problem with saying that, so we're saying something like we're not in the business of outselling, you know, our two, is that what some people might, including like shareholders or whatever else, could consider that to mean is that they're not even going to try. Like they're not even interested in selling Xbox consoles because they're not in the business of outselling their competitors.
Well, the only reason why they're not in the business of outselling their competitors is because they can't.
Yes,
they have
exactly.
they have an inferior product,
yes,
and and I'm not just talking about the hardware, but I'm just talking about the service that the service that they provide. It's inferior to what both Nintendo and Sony do, and it has been that way for this generation and last generations of consoles. And just like most generations, if you are generationally poor, you're likely going to pass that poorness to the next generation. There are the outliers that go out there and get sick and tired of that, and they go and they make the hard choices and they break the mold. Xbox ain't gonna break no mold, at least in this type of console quote-unquote war. They've already lost the war. Right now, they're just trying to stay in the fight, and they're trying to figure out what lanes they have where they can actually make it seem as though they're being competitive. And that, in my opinion, is Game Pass. That is their thing. If Game Pass doesn't exist, they're done. It's over. It's actually over.
And Game Pass only continues if the games are there.
Or there, because if the games aren't there, who's going to renew their Game Pass memberships? And dude, we spent the last 2 years plus sucking the tits off of how much value Game Pass was. And what do we say every 6 months? Well, they better hurry up with the games. They got it, you know, yeah, there's tons of value here, but that value has now been soaked out. The games that were on there have been played now, probably played over and over and over again, and it's probably got to the point where the ones that have Game Pass are maybe holding on to it, waiting for that next title, which will be Starfield, or they've canceled and they went and bought a PlayStation.
That's the reality of it. And like he said, you know, Starfield, this is a loose quote, but he said Starfield could come out and be an 11 out of 10. It's not going to solve the problem.
No.
It's just not going to solve the problem. There's like a million other things going on here. Do I believe he doesn't think it will help? Of course not. Obviously, if Starfield comes out and it's 11 out of 10 and it's an exclusive to the fucking Xbox, you know, ecosystem, that's a W.
Helps. It creates some momentum that they desperately need.
They need something. And so, yes, that is 100% something that they're looking to. But I think what he was mentioning, which is another dangerous thing to say because of how it can be misconstrued, is that he has said some people are talking about how all we need is good games and suddenly all of this is going to go away. We just need to make good games. And that's a dangerous thing to say because it means or it sounds like they don't believe that good games are necessarily a core part of of why a console, for example, won't sell, in reference to him talking about not competing with Sony and Nintendo for selling consoles.
They need games, bro. They need good games. Period.
They need them.
Like what? How else do you like? How else do you? How
you can't just make a bunch of like 7s out of 10.
No, you can't.
And sell consoles or even a service. You can't sell Game Pass on 7s.
Nah, bro. Listen, bro. If Netflix was nothing but a bunch of 6 or 7 out of 10 mid-tier movies and shows, that shit is gonna sink enormously quick. I mean, it is going to go yesterday. There is no way in fuck.
And they flirted with that, actually. Like they have flirted with it.
100% they did. The thing that keeps them going, the thing that keeps HBO going, the thing that keeps Prime Video going, is they have their flagship shows and movies that come out. And yes, it's not every month. It's not every quarter. It could be once or twice a year that everybody is all in for. And Xbox does not have those things. And Starfield is not going to be it. It just is not. Period. Plain and simple, point blank. Halo is toast. All of their flagship stuff is toast. These new things like this Redfall or whatever the fuck this mid-fall shit is, this stuff, this is like, get excited because this is going to be the next big thing. Gone. And then people go, well, what else is there? You've burned us on everything. Why do I have this service?
And to the credit of the guys at Kind of Funny, they really did grill them on a bunch of this shit. Like they were saying, look, this all sounds good, but you still need good games, and it's not that you guys don't have the ability to put some together. You have, like they called it out like we have several times. You guys have so much intellectual property, and not only just to draw from, but stuff that's technically, from what you've told us, in development. And they were listing off all these games, between Perfect Dark and Fable. Like, these are some big fucking names, and several others that they had in the list. And we haven't seen or heard tell of that shit in fucking ages.
Because Adam, it ain't happening, bro. It ain't happening.
So, like, what it's not about, like, so you have to, so, like, as much as I like Phil, and I think he's been, clearly, I think anyone that says he's not been a net positive for Xbox is fucking high. But some of the shit that he's been saying is starting to sound a little stupid. Like, you have to have good fucking games. Like Jeff said, they don't have to be every second Tuesday. You have to have 1 or 2 a year to be able to not just sell consoles. It's okay if you're not in the business to sell consoles. If you're in the business to sell Game Pass still needs flagship shit to make people believe that they're still worth spending $20 a month.
Game Pass,
to fucking do it. It's not
Game Pass. It's just not Pass.
It's Game Pass.
It's Game Pass, which means you need games, and we need games not only from like the past, but we need them in the future games. Like we don't need regurgitated stuff, remakes. Yeah. We don't need it. We can appreciate that, but like that needs to be a complement. That needs to be the side to your main course.
Yes.
We need some steak. We can't just eat potatoes because after a while, potatoes, you just want to switch it up. Give me rice instead. Fucking put garlic mash. Do something with this. This shit's getting bland. That's where
some
Xbox
white people food in here is what you're saying.
Seriously, like give us something, man. And what do? They come up with Redfall or whatever the fuck that game is called.
It's Redfall.
And that's like Turnip. It's like the shit that's there, and you're like, there's like 4 people out of 40 that want it on their plate, and so they put it on there, but then they just kind of leave a little bit, and they just go back for more stuffing.
It's like watery.
Yeah, it's
like
just
not even like good turnip. It's just like
no, it's just not great. There's so many better sides to have, but it's okay. You can have turnip there, but you better have like a good main course and a bunch of other sides. You can't just Happy Thanksgiving and it's a bowl of turnip on the fucking table. That's it. And you're like, bitch, where's Ashton Kutcher at? Where the fuck is my turkey?
Am I getting punked?
Seriously. That's fucking turn up, man. And it ain't turning me up. I'm telling you.
That's perfect. I fucking love that. That's good. That might be the title of the fucking podcast. Just the last couple of little points here. So he said that this was another interesting little tidbit inside things. It's something that most people wouldn't think about, but it does raise some more question marks to a degree. So when you have a big game like this, big AAA major release being handled, and you're pushing it, and you need it to do well. Like any product, you have focus groups and shit. Movies do the same thing. You have test viewings. How is this cut of the movie doing? Is it dog shit? Is it not dog shit? Are they standing up and clapping? Are they crying? Is it they crying good or are they crying because it's bad? We need to know these fucking answers before we send it out to the unwashed masses for their consumption. And so this process happens with major games as well, and it did with Redfall because, again, Microsoft had a bunch riding on Redfall being a relative success anyway. I don't think that the way Phil was talking about it, I don't think that they were expecting it to be 95 out of 100 or some shit, but they were expecting it to be a reasonable hit. And so he said that the testing, the internal reviews that they did, which is a weird way of putting it, because apparently it's not technically internal. They're third-party companies that run these services for people, but that's what he said. Anyway, the internal reviews were double digits higher than the Metacritic is right now for this game. So a minimum of 10-point swing between what the Metacritic score is right now for Redfall and what their internal review processes were showing them. To my question being, who the fuck played that game and had it scoring over 10 points higher on average?
But let's be real. If the Metacritic score is what? 38?
It's like 62 right now, I think, overall, or some
62?
Shit. Yeah.
And it's 10 points higher, you got a mid-ass game.
Yeah, but like in the industry, the difference between a 72 and a 62 for sales is like a fucking it's pretty bad. It's still mid, but that's still and it raises some flags. Clearly, if the people that you used give you something that's that fucking far gone from the reality of it, I mean, that's a pretty huge swing. So that was an interesting point that he brought up. Not that he says it's not their fault. It's still on us to put it out at the end of the day, but he did say that was something that, obviously we have to take those things into consideration, and they clearly can't be that far off base all the time or nobody would use their services. So it was like that was a part of it. And then he wrapped up by saying that, because the kind of funny guys were trying to get him to talk about things like, the upcoming Xbox event in June, for example, where they're going to be showing off new games that we haven't seen in a bit that are coming out soon. Starfield has a major fucking block that seems to be maybe 15 to 30 straight minutes of just Starfield, things of that nature. Trying to get him to talk about those things, get a little positive about it. He wasn't really feeling it. He just said, look, I got to be honest, I come do these things and I have to look. He said I have to look at it from like if I start talking about this shit in certain ways, I have to look at it like how are the people at home taking this in? Here's Phil sitting here again, telling me that everything is going to get better and that we've got all the answers and that thing. And I could say those things, but why like he said all I can say. This is paraphrasing clearly, but this is the gist of it. He said, all I can say is that I'm positive. I've seen good internal builds of the games that we have coming. Things are like, I'm not dire about everything currently going on. But what I would urge people to do is you can either believe me or not, but what you should do is just wait until you have the game in your hand. And then you can decide if I was, then decide then. And that wasn't to say, go buy the game without reading a review. He was just saying, I could say these things, but you should just
see for yourself.
And because that's all, because he said ultimately that's all that matters. Is once the game is in your hand, is it good or bad? Yeah. That's all that matters. So he kind of wrapped up on that point. He said everyone has clearly every right to be skeptical about the team's words, and it's 100% up. He took responsibility every time. He did mention at one point, he said, I do sometimes think that, like, to a degree, he was saying he might catch a little too much because it's clearly not just Phil Spencer sitting in a room at Xbox headquarters making and deciding absolutely everything. He is the head, but he has an entire fucking massive team underneath him. There's a lot of moving parts. The problem is that ultimately, just like for Jim Ryan, who wouldn't be making all the decisions all the time either, is that if the wheels fall off, he will be the guy that takes the fall. Nobody else. Of course. I mean, he's the
fucking CEO. It's just the way it goes.
It's just the way it is, and he knows
the way
that.
It goes. And even more so when you're the dude on these podcasts, on the front lines, basically asking for it. So, I don't have any sympathy for him there. He gets paid handsomely well for what he does.
He actually said, I actually get paid too much money for what I do, to be honest. Like, Phil's a real one. Like, Phil knows he's there for a short time. He's doing his best, but he's not the typical CEO who, like, tries to, like, uphold some sort of weird fucking, like,
corporate type shit. I mean, yeah, he's trying to be the bro. The guy that's, like, in the position that, like, is talking to the fans and keeping it real. Even when things aren't the best, and when things are great, hey, that's awesome too. But like at the end of the day, man, I don't envy his job. I'll tell you that.
No. And the thing for him is that no matter what he does here, people are going to scrutinize it. So like if he didn't show up to do this, that's a problem. He shows up to do it. Oh, he's just
Of course.
he's just talking shit. Like does this. So and he recognized that and said on the podcast, like it doesn't matter what the fuck I say. Like, oh, we're not over here attempting to release a dog shit game. Like our business is not to sit around here and develop mid for a fucking our service. So that's just not what they're looking at. And that's all I've got for that. Which means we can move on to our second and only minor in comparison point from this week of news, because it wasn't a particularly huge week for news in general. Xbox has been the center of the attention, unfortunately, with Redfall. Although it's funny, I will mention this briefly because it was a bit funny. That Jedi, the next Jedi, oh fuck, not Fallen Order because that was the first game.
I know what you're saying.
Anyway, the new one. That one was getting its asshole torn because it's got released in a broken state. Good game, but broken. Redfall was neither a good game and also broken, but it was getting fucking reamed because again, the whole discourse has been every game that's come out has all been fucking broken, terribly fucking, all these PC ports, terrible, everything awful. Jedi Survivor, that was it. And so, like, that game's only out for a few days, it's getting fucking heat out the ass, and then here comes Redfall on a white horse with the sun shining behind them. It heard the fucking call. Gondor called for aid and the elves fucking appeared, and it was in the form of Redfall, and not a single fucking person has given a single fucking shit about Jedi Survivor's performance issues the moment Redfall came, because it just took the whole news cycle, shifted, BAM! Xbox, Redfall, Phil Spencer, get fucked, and then you gotta imagine the guys over at EA were like, huh?
Thank
you.
Jesus, thank you. Fuck. Quick. Get a patch out now.
Now. Now's the time. The next point for this week, a certain game, which may or may not be, or may or may not resemble an open world Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts, may or may not have been fully leaked online this week. It also may or may not have resulted in gameplay being shown off across social media websites, one of which was just being put up in straight half-hour chunks the entire fucking game. Just non-stop. If you don't know which game I'm talking about, I'm pretty sure you can figure it out. Open world Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts. You can sort out what game we're talking about here. This may or may not have also resulted in some more nuclear actions being taken by a certain company known for their trigger finger. You can probably also piece that one together. So just be careful out there, whether you're a content creator or just if you're trying to avoid spoilers, the whole ass game is out. Ahead of time, cracked, PC download for whatever the fuck, the people emulating the Switch, because it's like literally your phone. Something's not hard. Playing their shit in 4K, whatever the fuck. Like it's already done. And that company, of course, Nintendo, is just the legal team. Those motherfuckers are running on caffeine and fucking cocaine right now. They ass haven't slept in the last fucking 5-6 days.
Wait to send somebody to jail for 40 years and fucking take $7 million or whatever. They can't
the
fucking wait.
The next 7 generations of your family will slave to pay off your debts. So they're in the midst of their hardcore retrieval and of course destruction of many things online right now, which kind of wild. But also, in related news to that, Kotaku, everyone's favorite, tangentially related to video game website, Kotaku was blacklisted by Nintendo a while back because. Meaning they don't get any games in advance of the release anymore. They get nothing. They are not provided shit all. And that's because right around the time of Metroid Dread release, they actually wrote up an article that was like advocating for emulation and to a certain degree piracy of the game. Which you might imagine didn't go over well with Nintendo and their entire team of Velociraptors. And so they got blacklisted almost immediately. They're still blacklisted now. That's probably unlikely to change. So with this would-be leak of the open world Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts, They are basically just using that as a way of circumventing the fact that they don't have the game on hand right now anyway, to be able to write articles about this game. Because not being able to write about Nintendo games in advance, especially something like the next Zelda game, has to be one of the biggest financial fucking hits a website like Kotaku could possibly fucking take. Like, that shit is bad. And that site's already dog shit anyway, so now it's just like, it's just a complete fucking meme. And to make matters worse, one of their lead writers posted a picture of a World War II jet fighter or plane fighter that was like, I don't know what they were trying to reference. I don't know if they were trying to like compare Nintendo to Nazi Germany or some shit, but that's what it came across as most people, because of course there's swastikas plastered all over the side of the plane, which actually referenced how many German planes this guy shot down. But nevertheless, how else are you supposed to interpret that as far as he's concerned? It's a very interesting times over at Kotaku, but it's good news. It's Kotaku. And I'm only talking about it because it's funny to talk about Kotaku, because they're fucking terrible. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's your video game news this week. All it was Jedi Survivor came out and it's broken. Redfall came to save the fucking day. Everyone at EA popped champagne bottles and fucking celebrated. Everyone at Xbox, black tar heroin. That was the entire week. And now it's time to sell out. Mr. Maximus Black, hit us up with a little sellout.
Patreon.com/LagTV. Head on over there, throw some money at the screen. We got the dollar menu. You guys want to head on over there, do what you need to do. If not, that's cool. It's all good. Get yourself a NordVPN subscription. Use the promo code OTT. Go to www.nordvpn.com/OTT or click the link in the description of this video. When you use the promo code, you get a massive discount plus 4 extra bonus months when you use that promo code. So make sure you do it. Stay safe, stay anonymous when you're on the internet. Watch different regions of Netflix and other streaming services at the click of a button, which unlocks more shows and movies for you to consume. Also, you can bypass region block content. We're talking websites, we're talking Twitter videos, YouTube videos, you name it. You can get through it simply by using a VPN. And on top of that, the most important part is it keeps you safe. It keeps you anonymous. It makes it so that those internet thieves can't steal your information and know where you're at and all that stuff. So make sure you get it. And you can use up to 6 simultaneous devices on one account. So you only need one account per household. You can use it on your smartphone, your TV, your Mac, your PC, your iPad, your whatever device that you got. It's that easy. No programming required. It's a click of a button. That's all it is. It will auto-connect you. I use mine on the regular, not only on my phone, but on my PC. And they've got threat protection for the desktop app that runs in the background. You don't even have to be connected to a server, and it will make sure that them websites you going on is not collecting all your information. Seeing the things that you're searching for, getting your cookies all in place, putting malware all over your PC and spamming you with a bunch of ads you don't want to see. Get it. It's NordVPN. Support us, support them, and support yourself. Use that promo code OTT. That's it.
And now it's time for
movies and TV.
You know, Mr. Black, normally I'm for this kind of stuff, but I have a bad feeling about this one for some reason. Dodgeball. Fucking fantastic movie. Love me some Dodgeball. That was a funny-ass movie. I'm not gonna lie. It was also relatively unique, even during the time where, like, you know, there was a lot of the similar humor shit, but Dodgeball was a unique animal at the time. And definitely a good one you can go back and watch multiple times. Well, you know what? They were like, shit, everything else is getting redone, brought up, sequels, prequels, fucking. What if we did another Dodgeball movie? And so evidently that's what they're doing. Another Dodgeball movie with Vince Vaughn returning and likely producing. I haven't heard or seen if that means also that Ben Stiller is returning as well.
He's got it. You can't do.
Well, that was my question.
Ben Stiller.
Like, so how does that fly?
I'm assuming they got him. You have to.
And even then, do I want Dodgeball 2? Like, maybe But do I think that there's a better chance that it turns out being kind of disappointing than it turns out to be able to live up to the first?
If it's going on a streaming service like Netflix, I'm in. If it's
that's true.
Yeah, if it's going to theaters, I'm waiting until it's on a streaming service like Netflix.
And then you're in.
And then I'm in. That's pretty much it.
Thank you for that super chat. Rorden Gamzee. Love the name. It's fantastic. The chicken is raw. What did you think about John Wick 4? Well, typically we wouldn't answer something here, but since we're in the movies and TV things, and we talked about it before, I'll just say this. Yay! It was good!
Yeah, it's good. Go back, 3 episodes, and then...
we actually talked about it.
We talked about it for quite some time.
Yep. Nintendo's legal team is working overtime in not just the gaming side of things, Mr. Black, but also on the movie side. Now that they've got that success on their hands, the Super Mario Bros. Movie crested $1 billion in this last week. I don't know where it sits currently, but it did successfully cross that figure. And unfortunately, not long after, the film got fully leaked across social media websites. That shit was getting posted all over the place like Kim Kardashian's sex tape with Ray J. And lots of people were consuming it. It was probably more exciting, if we're going to be honest. And so, that was not a good time. They've been hunting that shit down all over the place, but people were just dead ass. Like, a guy came along and just said, fuck it, whole Super Mario Bros. Movie thing or whatever the fuck, and just posted that shit on Twitter. I was just like, all right, yeah, fuck it. How do you decide to do, how do you even decide to do that shit? And not imagine something's going to go wrong.
Drugs will do it.
You know what was pretty good, though? There was, I can't remember if it was for Tears of the Kingdom or for this movie, for whichever leak it was that Nintendo's been fighting this week, but Reggie, who doesn't work for Nintendo anymore, but he was the head of Nintendo America, Reggie Fils-Aimé, the Reginator himself. He found one of these guys' tweets and he quote retweeted and he quoted Liam Neeson from Taken. He said, I don't know, but I have a particular set of skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. And I was like, oh no! And then the tweet got deleted and everything, and I was like, oh shit, he got him. He still got the inside contacts. And then he, but not only that, legendary, Reggie's already fucking legendary, but he screenshotted the original tweet and then replied to his tweet to make sure everyone could still see it because the tweet got deleted. I was like, man, Reggie's a fucking goat. That man's an absolute legend. He dead ass fucking quoted Taken. I was like, oh my god. Fucking hero. Oh boy, Mr. Black, it happened. More than 11,000. This is the big one for Movies TV. I'm sure you've been listening to every fucking podcast known to man this week that's probably been picking this bitch apart because the documents even got released. You can see every single bit on both sides of this argument. But more than 11,000 members of the WGA are now on strike for the first time since 2011. Get ready for some truly meme-worthy TV series episodes and a mess of late-night television. Also, just a footnote here. Reminder that Conan O'Brien, who is, I still think, the GOAT of late-night television, paid, back in 2007, when this last writer's strike happened, I'm sure because he used to be a writer himself, he, out of pocket, paid for his entire staff for months when that last strike happened. He was the only one doing that shit. And they still ran the show. And because he's an improv guy and a writer himself, they made light of it. There's a famous clip where they were joking around where he had the intern at the fucking desk that had a fucking timer out. He said, "Are you ready? So we're going for 41 seconds." And it was his wedding ring. He took his wedding ring off and he spun it on his fucking desk and they did a drum roll. Well, they did 41 seconds. That was the show. It's just it was brilliant because it's Conan, he can get away with it. But yeah, he paid for everything, which is a salient point because Jimmy Fallon and the current boys are telling their crew, you got 3 weeks. Rip. And that's the show. Just a different breed, Mr. Black. Different breed. But yeah, that's happening. So what have you heard so far? What are the speakings, the rumblings around it? Because this is big, and they're like we talked about the other week. Really, nobody's talking about shit.
I mean, I haven't been keeping up with it, to be honest. I've been so busy the last couple of days. So maybe next week I will know more.
Yeah. Oh well, this is still new. So the next week there's going to be a fucking buttload of discourse around it. But it is definitely, this will be like the tell, like we talked about the other week when we first talked about that this got announced as a possibility because we didn't know if it was going to happen until May 1st. That, which shows already had their shit written and which ones didn't. And let me tell you, if you weren't around in 2000, if you're a Zoomer, and maybe you weren't watching the type of television that you're watching now or the type of series that you're watching now, let me tell you, you're going to know very fucking quickly. This last strike decimated some of the highest rated television series of all time. Go back and watch Heroes. First season. Oh my God. Follow up. Bad. Like that last strike took out some heavy fucking hitters. And so we're going to find out real quick who had written and who didn't. And find out how this all goes. But yeah, the strike is tough. It's going to be a bad go. We'll see how long it drags out. But given the fact that they've just released all of the friggin' information on that paperwork for like what they're coming after, there's stuff in there about like AI writing and representation and what they can and cannot do, and things like the streaming service, which we discussed before, because these services didn't really exist when the last agreements were really written properly. There's a lot to go over here. That is the difference between writers getting paid really more like representative of what they are worth and not, especially in the new market of what this whole industry looks like. So we'll have to wait and see. Next week, Mr. Black will probably have heard a lot more. There's going to be a lot of discourse around it, so it'll be fun to see what comes out of it. And more importantly, it'll be fun to see how long we think this thing is going to last, because the last one in 2007 that was months.
Wow. Yeah, it was a while.
And so we'll just have to wait and see. Finally in here, Gran Turismo got its official trailer, Mr. Black. That's the, one of Sony's next spiels. This one being an actual movie with some heavy names in there. We got Orlando Bloom is in there, reminding everyone that he's a vampire and barely ages. Also, David, what's his face? From Stranger Things, the dad boy, David something. Fuck. Anyway, he's in it. And he's one of the main guys. That's Orlando and him are like the main two kind of guys. They're like the head and co-head of the pit crew of sorts or whatever for Team Nissan. And so one thing I'll say, having watched the trailer, did you see the trailer for this, Mr.
I did not. No, I didn't see it.
So they're definitely going for I know what they're going for, but I just don't know if they needed to go this hard on it. But like conceptually, the entire trailer is more or less David's character shitting on video game players for 2.5 straight minutes.
Great.
Bunch of useless couch sitting, weak-legged, can't fucking run, can't breathe, can't drive, don't know what real life is, probably can't tie their shoes, fucking vacuous members of society. It's just David's character just never ending, and Orlando Bloom going, I don't know, they might have something, and that's basically like the entire back and forth for 2.5 minutes, and then they throw in like some millennial bait music, and then the whole concept of like, clearly if you're a gamer, you're listening, you're listening to this going, okay, well clearly we're trying to get some people riled up so they watch it because they know the kid's gonna win in the end.
Yeah.
And David character is going to be like, I was so wrong. Gamers are the shit. That's what this movie looks like to me, which is to say, could have been a lot better than just shitting on gamers for 2.5 fucking hours, but it is what it is. And that was pretty much the whole trailer. That's all that was about. And that's all I have for movies and TV, Mr. Black. Was there anything else that you watched?
Man. No. What did I watch?
I still haven't got a chance to watch more Love is Blind to be able to catch up on that.
Yeah, I went and saw last week. I went and saw Evil Dead. I went out and saw that. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I like the Evil Dead series a lot. Definitely a departure from what they normally do, but still felt like Evil Dead. So, yeah, pretty solid. I give it like an 8.5 out of 10 for what it was. Very, very gory. So if you guys don't like gore, this ain't it. I'm telling you right now, this is the goriest movie I've seen since
Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, it's way more gory than that.
Saw?
Way more gory. It's
Wow.
probably it's probably top 3 goriest movies I've ever seen. Ever.
Wow.
So it's gory, guys. So yeah, if you're not into that, skip this one. If you're a fan of Evil Dead, definitely go check it out. I don't really think it's a movie you need to run out to theater and see unless like you're you want to take your significant other out for a little scare. But yeah, it was good nonetheless. And that's pretty much it. I don't think I've seen any other movies or anything like that. So
I did see the list of the next season of Black Mirror is coming up, and I saw the list of actors for it. There's some they're starting to reach into some more mainstreamy people for Black Mirror.
Aaron Paul in there. They've got there's a few.
Yeah, there was like 2 or 3 that like stood out that were like, okay, this is somebody that wouldn't typically have done Black Mirror, but now all of a sudden they're doing Black Mirror. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Black Mirror's got they can be hit or miss their episodes, but the ones that hit,
yeah, they're good.
They fucking hit. All right, well if that's it, then that's all we got for movies and TV, which means it's time to move on to
tech support.
Patreon.com/lagtv is the place to go if you want to financially support both this podcast and our returned StarCraft 2 casting content, and more so because we've got the benchmark of holding that number at and above 2,000. Nova War says makes a return. And I think maybe we might have crossed over that mark this week.
I don't know. I haven't checked.
We have to take a look and see how it is. And then we have to see if it's I guess it doesn't matter one way or the other. It's like the public facing one is, I think, I can't remember if the public facing number is pre or post Patreon takes all of your money. Can't remember which one of those two it is. Okay, so this place to go. Do the thing. You get to ask questions where we split some of them here, and some of them I do my best to work them in to the middle of StarCraft casts. So that's what we're going to do again. Let's see what we got this week. Oh, let's see. Oh, I should probably mention that you go to the Patreon page. I put up the post every week. It's called Tech Support. Yeah, ask your questions there. I'm on it today. White on rice. Let's see. Dr. Samurai asks. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna hold off on that one because that's a really good one for StarCraft. Mad Kiwi, what is your favorite potato chip flavor?
You know what? It's changed over the years. Most certainly, it has changed. It has changed maybe 3 different times. But if I had to choose today, we are looking at kettled salt and vinegar chips. There is no better. It's sweet,
Vicky's.
it's salty, it's Miss Vicky's. It's got the crunch, it's salty, it's vinegary, it's delicious. You can eat an entire bag, no problem, within 30 minutes. No fucking problem at all. It is undoubtedly the best chip out there. I have to go with it.
Mine haven't changed dramatically over time.
Oh, mine has.
Mine has always been the 2 front runners, even from being a kid. Ketchup and all dressed. They're the 2. Ketchup. Well, shouldn't say it. Ketchup, all dressed, and salt and vinegar are like the holy trinity. And I will eat any of those on a given day. But the unifying flavor profile there is clearly vinegar. It's just how much vinegar do you want? You know, the ketchup is vinegar, the all dressed has the vinegar, and the salt and vinegar, guess what? It's got some fucking vinegar in it. And so those 3 have always been, in my holy trinity. And right now, it's Miss Vicky's, but it's not salt and vinegar.
Although the jalapeno one?
No. It's the sweet and spicy ketchup.
Ooh, I don't think I've ever had that one.
They have it at Costco. You might want to fucking pick up a bag and give her a fucking look-see. If you like ketchup chips, it is highly addictive. I can eat more of those in one sitting than the salt and vinegar.
Ooh.
Because the vinegar doesn't destroy your mouth as fast as like a straight salt and vinegar chip. And just in general, it's the best chip I've ever eaten in my life. It's fucking goated. The amount on the chips are always good. Everything about it's just fucking perfect. So it's Miss Vicky's sweet and spicy ketchup, Miss Vicky's salt and vinegar, and then Ruffles all dressed because no other
Ruffles
all dressed.
You don't eat it. You don't eat any other all dressed.
No, they don't exist as far as I'm concerned.
Well, they're not all dressed. They're just dressed. They're just not all.
They're dressed poorly.
Yes.
Yes.
That's it.
So that's my rankings right now, but that hasn't changed forever. The one defining thing, like for all, like in terms of chip flavors, for me has always been that no matter what, I just never liked barbecue, and I never liked sour cream and onion.
I fucking hate sour cream and onion. Kayla loves it. I fucking hate it, and she likes it too because she'll buy the chips and she knows I'll never eat them. So she just doesn't have to worry about like, oh, me just going up and grabbing a handful every day while I'm going upstairs to grab a drink. She knows I ain't touching them. It's safe. I ain't touching it. My top three. I mean, growing up, I was all about the ketchup.
Oh yeah.
My mom loved ketchup chips. It was just something I grew up on. So I would say, like, as a kid, ketchup
Lay's
chips was
ketchup
my favorite.
specifically, right?
Yes. Oh, 100%. There is no other ketchup. I don't
until
fuck
Miss
with any
Vicky's.
other.
You gotta fuck with Miss Vicky's
Okay,
first.
all right.
They
I
are
haven't
different
tried
though. In fairness, because it's sweet and spicy. So I'll fuck with both. But yeah,
I'm gonna pick up a bag this week and next Thursday, I'll let you know what I think.
Let's go.
So yeah, ketchup as a kid. Then as a teenager, I went into sour cream and bacon. That was my jam for my, I would say, sour cream and bacon.
Do they still make that?
Yes, they do.
Is it like
Ruffles.
one of those where they have like
Ruffles.
4 bags in a shelf somewhere because they're like, it's like one of those like side flavors that technically exist?
Yeah, I don't know. I know they do still sell them, but I don't know how popular they are. But I did have a phase as a teenager where that's pretty much all I ate is for chips. I haven't had them in years now.
I had that with hickory sticks when I was younger.
Oh shit, how did I forget about hickory sticks?
I had a period where like I was in junior high where, you know, Crimp, dude, his family had 2 things in the household. 86 liters of Coke and hickory sticks.
And hickory sticks.
And
hickory sticks are delicious.
Dude, I have a hard time eating them now because I ate so fucking many hickory sticks in like a 2-year period. But that was a phase. Hickory sticks for sure. I fucks with some hickory sticks.
But today, Miss Vicky's salt and vinegar, number 1. It's not even close. Like there's no close second. If I had to go with second, I'm gonna go with all dressed. It's got to be Ruffles. This is plain and simple. There ain't no other all dressed you can have. And then if I had to go number 3 today, bruh, I'm gonna have to go with hickory sticks. You just brought it up, and I gotta put some respect on the name. I still fucks with ketchup, but it's not chips that we buy ever. I will say though, every time I have the guys over, when I buy a bunch of snacks,
there's
always ketchup. There's always all dressed. There's
plain,
always salt and vinegar. There's always a plain. That's just it. Plain and simple. It's like when you order pizzas, right? There's always got to be like 1 donair pizza. There's always got to be at least 1 barbecue chicken pizza.
Straight cheese.
And then the rest, you can do straight cheese, pepperoni, and then like 1 meat lovers. Like it's the same ordeal.
You gotta cover your bases.
Gotta do it.
The Blainer says, Adam, M comes to you and wants you to sit down beside her on the couch. She then surprises you with the news that you're going to be a dad. What is your reaction, and what would be their name? Saying this because that's what happened to me some months ago. Well, first of all, congratulations.
Yeah, congrats.
Second of all, first I would faint. Then after I pulled myself off the floor and out of my own puddle of drool, I would then process the fact that is happening because we are definitely not planning it right now, and that would be a fucking wrench in the financial wheels that we don't have at the moment. So, what would I name my child? The CRA, actually, and just give it up and hope that the CRA don't come for me on the next tax bracket. That would surely have to happen in order for me to pay for this child. So, to answer the question more specifically, I mean, listen. I'd be mortified because, you know, we're within a couple of years of actually doing that, like intentionally. Because right now, obviously, we stretched ourselves to get the house done. We're going to be in some financial, murky waters for probably a year, 18 months, and then it won't be so bad. Things will have leveled out and it will be survivable at that point. In this case that, survivable is a fucking meme, but I'll be able to put money away for retirement maybe. Which I don't right now. So, that's that. With that being said, names, that's tough. I think I haven't thought a lot about it. I've thought some about it. I haven't, Em and I have only like thrown some names around here and there, but like I would say if it was a boy, there has always been in my family, the Morehouse family, once a generation somewhere in the family tree, there is always a Jones. Jones is which is my middle name. There's always a Jones. And Jones is a pretty. I've always thought Jones as a first name is pretty cool sounding to begin with for a guy. Just Jones Morehouse. It's kind of fucking neato. So I think Jones is on that list. The middle names will be split amongst fucking some sort of family member thing. So that would be like a short list. Not that I have a lot of names on that list. And then if it was a girl, I'm not sure about that either. I think that there's a good chance that if it was a girl, it would get named after another relative of some kind. There's a good shot, given that Em was a big fan of her, that we name her after my grandmother that just passed here recently, Eileen. That's a good shot for that as well. But we're not that couple that sat down like, in the future we need to have our names ready and so let's have them all. For all I know, that baby could pop out there and be like, fucking xylophone. Write it down. Who knows? But again, congratulations on clearly your own little surprise. Logan, what's your favorite summer activity, Mr. Black?
My favorite summer activity?
Yes.
Going yard sailing.
Which is coming up soon.
Yeah.
If you haven't already started.
Yeah, I went out last Saturday, but there wasn't really anything at all. I think this Saturday there might be a few more. Shitty thing is like my workout stuff is Saturday mornings at 8, so it's gonna be like I get out of the gym at 9, so I'll still be able to.
You'll be a little tired, but you won't be sore. It's rare to leave the gym sore. That comes afterwards. Yeah. You got some time. Mine is barbecuing.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's mine. I'm not a guy that likes, like some people's like, oh, summer, sit on the beach for 5 hours. I'm at the beach. I like it. I like it for about 45 minutes. Then I'm just hot, sweaty, and want to go home. Because the water here is not refreshing. The water here kills you. And so if you go into that water,
fucking cold. It's just like you go to the ocean.
35 outside, 35 degrees in sun outside. You're sweating to death. You're like dying of like fucking dehydration and heat stroke. You set one foot into Crystal Crescent Beach, dead. That's pretty much it. It's like when you're a kid, you do it as a challenge. You get into the water, you're like, how far can you go? You're like, and like 5 seconds later, you can't feel your feet.
No. Yeah.
So as a guy, you can imagine going up to a certain level, you're making some choices at that point. Last one, and then we'll save the other questions, 2 or 3 questions for the pod, not the podcast, sorry, the StarCraft casting. Yannick asks, who would win in a fight? Jeff versus Adam. Give us the play-by-play MMA rules. All right, I've got a really great answer for this, Mr. Black. You ready for this? Okay. This is how this all goes down. This is probably coming up because creator clash, big thing right now, Mr. Black. All these soft marshmallows climbing into the boxing ring, and for whatever reason you would ever want to like borderline get yourself concussed. You're not a box anyway. They're doing it. So this is how this goes down. Truthfully, clearly, I have a reach advantage. That's just the reality. But here's the problem. We'd get into the ring. The lights would dim. Everyone's cheering. They're all getting fucking excited. The ref comes in, gets us to touch gloves. We step back. Both of us take one fucking swing or one kick. We simultaneously...
My knees are buckling, bro.
We simultaneously slip a disc, blow a knee, and collapse in the ring. That is exactly what would happen in reality. In any case, that's just the reality of the situation, bro. And we are old men that have not taken care of ourselves for 12 straight years. Our bodies are not. It's a bad time.
It used to be. Yeah, it's not what it
bad
used to be.
fucking time.
I'm working on it right now, but
I am
It
not.
still ain't there.
Eventually, yes. Right now, no. But yeah, no. Nobody. The answer is nobody wins.
Nobody
Not even
wins.
the people watching at home.
Oh,
Nobody
it's
wins
an L.
that. So that's an L. It's an L all around. And that's gonna be it. We're gonna do the rest of those questions on the on StarCraft Cast. So we're gonna wrap it up there, ladies and gentlemen. Bless you. Thank you very much for listening as always, or watching. If you managed to catch us live, if you're wondering how you can catch us live on the event that you have the time and want to, we stream this on YouTube on our YouTube channel Thursdays, somewhere between 3 and 3:30 our time, which is around 2 and 2:30 Eastern. And is when we typically get started, and we're just live for that period of time. So if you want to roll in at any point on those Thursdays, that's the way to get her done. I will mention this right now. Next week there is no podcast. The family home is, my dad and his sister, my aunt, and whatnot have been down there basically prepping the home for sale for the last 10 straight days. They've been doing a lot of work. And we are at the point now where we're going to rent a box truck and drive out there, get the rest of the stuff out the house, and then there's the final prep, and then the house is going to end up going on the market. And so I won't be here for that. I'll be here long enough to do some StarCraft casting briefly, and then I'm going to run out of the house and drive, and then we're going to figure that out over the next couple of days. So you'll get a podcast the week following, and we'll be back on track. But next week there will be still more StarCraft, just not a podcast. Thank you once again, guys. We will see you over on the YouTube channel in the comment section of the StarCraft cast. And until then, have a good week. Stay safe out there, and peace.
Hey.